Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to explain something that feels like it's popping up everywhere lately. It's this big, messy question. Is therapy actually starting to replace our friendships? It's a really complex and honestly a super personal topic, so let's dive right in. I mean, you've definitely seen it, right? It's all over your social media feeds, it's in your group chats. Heck, maybe you've even used these words yourself. I'm talking about terms like trauma, gaslighting, setting boundaries. It feels like they've just completely escaped from the therapist's office and are now, well, they're just part of how we talk. And, at first glance, that seems like a positive step. More emotional awareness, more openness. What's not to like? But we really have to dig a little deeper here and ask a pretty critical question. What actually happens when the very specific language of clinical healing becomes the casual language we use with our friends? Is it really making our connections stronger? Or is it, maybe, just maybe, creating a whole new set of problems we didn't see coming? Okay, so to really unpack all of this, we've got to start with the absolute basics. Before we can even talk about how the lines are getting blurry, we need to draw those lines in the first place and draw them clearly. I mean, therapy and friendship, they're both so important, but they are built on totally different foundations. They've got different goals, different rules, different expectations. So let's lay down the ground rules and get super clear on what a therapist is for versus what a friend is for. All right, take a look at this. This chart really just lays it all out side by side. The differences are, well, they're huge. A therapeutic relationship that is designed from the ground up to be one way. The entire focus is on you, the client. It's structured, it's goal-oriented, and there's a clear power dynamic, right? The therapist is the professional. But friendship is all about being reciprocal. It's a two-way street. It's mutual give and take, built on being equals, on affection, not on some kind of treatment plan. It's messy and unstructured, and it's always on. The key thing to see here is that they are not fundamentally designed to do the same job. One's a professional service, and the other is a deeply personal bond. And this idea of boundaries, this is absolutely key to understanding what makes therapy, well, therapy. In a clinical setting, boundaries aren't just, helpful suggestions. They are strict, professional, ethical rules. They set the time and length of sessions. They limit what a therapist can share about their own life. They keep the relationship from ever becoming a personal one. And why? There's one big reason: to create a totally safe, predictable, and contained space just for the client. It's that professional container that makes it a service. And that is so, so different from the messy, wonderful, flexible world of friendship, where boundaries are personal, you negotiate them, and they can totally change as you grow together. So, if they're so fundamentally different, why does it feel like the lines are getting fuzzier and fuzzier every day? Well, that question leads us directly to this huge cultural shift, something that people who study this stuff call therapy culture. So what is therapy culture? Basically, it's this massive shift where all the language and all the ideals that used to just live inside a therapist's office are now everywhere. And they're not just helpful concepts anymore. They've kind of become this new moral language we use to judge ourselves and to judge our relationships. I mean, think about it for a second. The idea that you have to discover your true self, or express every single feeling you have, or constantly ask if a relationship is healthy or toxic. These aren't just little ideas anymore. For a lot of us, they've become the new rulebook for how to do friendship. And right here, this is where things start to get really, really complicated. Because this whole therapy culture thing hasn't just given us a bunch of new words to use. It's actually created this central conflict, a paradox that is sitting right at the heart of so many modern friendships. It's this clash between two different commands that can feel absolutely impossible to follow at the same time. Okay, so on the one hand, the culture is telling us that the absolute peak of friendship, that real, true intimacy, is built on being totally radically vulnerable. The message is open up, share your deepest struggles, your biggest fears, find friends who can be your support system, who can listen and validate everything you're feeling. And this is presented as the absolute gold standard for a real meaningful friendship. But then, at the exact same time, there's this other message coming at us, and it is just as loud. It says, you must protect your energy. Protect your mental health, no matter what. You have to set firm boundaries to protect yourself from friends who are emotionally draining, friends who might, trauma dump on you. This message is all about self-preservation. It's about making sure you don't get weighed down by other people's problems. And you can see the paradox laid out perfectly right here.
We're being pushed to do two totally opposite things, sometimes with the exact same person. On one side, it's be vulnerable, let people in, and on the other, it's protect yourself, don't take on their baggage. So this creates a totally impossible situation for friends, right? How are you supposed to know if sharing something you're struggling with will be seen as a brave act of building intimacy or as just being a toxic burden? And that uncertainty, man, that creates so much anxiety in our friendships.
Now, this paradox, it doesn't just stay as some abstract idea. Oh no, it boils over into a very real communication problem, and it gets poured fuel on the fire by the rise of what people are calling therapy speak. This is where that precise clinical language starts getting used almost like a weapon in our normal everyday arguments. Okay, and I have to be super clear about this. Therapy speak is not how real therapists talk with their clients. Not at all. It's what happens when these really specific clinical terms get yanked out of their original context, get flattened into a TikTok soundbite or a meme, and then get thrown around in our personal lives. They lose all their nuance, all their precise meaning, and they just become these vague but super powerful labels.
Let's look at a big one, trauma. Clinically, this word has a very, very specific and serious meaning. It's about the psychological response to something truly horrific and often life-threatening. It's way outside the range of normal everyday stress. But in the world of therapy speak, a bad day at work is trauma. A messy breakup is trauma. And listen, not only does that totally water down the meaning of the word, it really, really minimizes what people who have gone through actual clinical trauma have experienced.
Okay, how about gaslighting? This is another huge one. In psychology, gaslighting refers to a long-term, deliberate pattern of manipulation designed to make someone doubt their own reality. It is a serious form of psychological abuse. But now, what do we use it for? It's used when someone just disagrees with you, or when someone remembers a story differently. It takes a term for this incredibly severe form of abuse and turns it into a conversational trump card you can play to win an argument.
And setting a boundary, oh man, this one gets twisted all the time. A real healthy boundary is a statement about your own actions. It's about what you are going to do. Something like, hey, I don't have the energy for this topic right now, so I'm going to step away from this conversation. See, it's about controlling yourself. But what happens in therapy speak? It gets turned into an ultimatum to control someone else. My boundary is that you can't do that anymore. That's not a boundary. That's just a demand wearing a therapy speak costume.
And this is where it gets really dangerous. Because when you drop one of these words in an argument with a friend, it can feel like a checkmate, right? It feels like you've won. You've diagnosed them. You've labeled them as toxic or a gaslighter. But what you've really done is you've pathologized them. You've turned a simple disagreement between two friends, two equals, into a one-sided diagnosis where you're the healthy one and they're the broken one. And that doesn't solve anything. It just completely shuts down the conversation.
Okay, so we've talked about the language. We've talked about this central paradox and this whole therapy culture. So where does that leave us? What's the big takeaway here for our actual real-life friendships?
Well, I think this is the most important thing to understand. It's not really that therapy is replacing friendship. That's too simple. What's actually happening is that the culture of therapy is completely redefining it. We're now expecting our friendships to do everything. We want them to be fun and an escape, but we also expect them to be the space for deep, heavy therapeutic-style emotional work. They have to be both all the time.
And the biggest risk here, the real danger, is that friendship stops being this natural, joyful thing and turns into another project. You know, like going to the gym or organizing your closet. It becomes something we have to manage and optimize. We're constantly checking in, asking, is this relationship serving me? Is it healthy? And that creates that exact tension we were talking about, where a friend just wants to talk about a problem, and they have no idea if you're going to see it as a moment of connection or as them being a burden.
So all of this leads us to one last really big question to think about. In this world, a world of therapy culture that tells us to be completely vulnerable one minute and completely guarded the next, what does it even mean to be a good friend anymore? All right, that's all for this one. Thanks so much for your time and for watching the whole video. I would love to hear your opinions on this down in the comments. Definitely share any experiences you've had with this stuff in your own life. And, let me know what topic you think I should talk about next. And of course, if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to the channel and make sure you click that little notification bell so you know right away when I upload my next video. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.